Alright, so in this lesson we will start exploring the effect controls panel. As I showed you in an earlier lesson, if you click on a clip in your timeline, then you will get these options. And if you don't click, they go away. So if we, for example, let's go to a wide shot here. Say we wanted this clip to be zoomed in just a little bit. With this clip selected, you'll see that these show up now. We can mess with the time remapping of the clip, which is the speed of the clip. We can change the opacity, which means if this clip was here and we had a different clip underneath, we can adjust the opacity of this clip, which will start revealing the clip underneath it. So to give you an example of that, let's move this clip underneath. We'll take this clip, we'll go to opacity, and we can start lowering the opacity. And the clip below it will start to show until it's all the way. This is a very important tip. Now it may be different in your version, but in this version, by default, it creates what's known as a keyframe. That means that this point in time on that clip, it's locking in 100%. If we were to highlight that keyframe and delete it, it's still highlighted. So in order for the entire clip to show up with the adjusted change, let's say of 20%, that means the bottom clip is showing through. Then because we never adjusted this, the keyframe shows up and the whole clip will be 20%. However, if we were to come back to this clip later and forget we did that and adjusted this, then we've created a second keyframe. So this is not a great thing, because from this keyframe all the way to that keyframe, it will animate from 20 to 64%. And that's not what we want. So to get around that, let's undo so that we're right back to where we started. We can click on the clip, go to opacity. It's defaulted to 100% and it has the stopwatch enabled. So to get around that, we simply click it and then it goes away. So now, no matter what we do to this clip at any point in time, throughout the whole clip, it will always stay like that. Stopwatches are used in order to set keyframes so that you can change the animation over time. So for the opacity, the majority of the time you will not need to change the opacity unless, let's say, you're at the very end want to fade out. But if you want to do that, there are transitions inside Premiere already that you can just apply, and it'll do that in a couple clicks as opposed to making a bunch of keyframes and changing the percentages. Let's keep that at 100%. Let's move this clip back here. Let's bring this clip back down and reselect the clip. Inside the motion tab, the default is set to 960 by 540, which is half of 1920 and half of 1080. These represent the center points of the clip. So if we were to move the position, the 960, which is the horizontal parts of your clip, we would move this, and dependent on your center point of the clip, which is 960, half of 1920, it'll start to move the clip. Okay, so we can click on the reset parameter button to bring us back to 960, or we can do the vertical and move it wherever we would like. Let's reset that. If we wanted to scale in on this clip, this is where we would do that. We would simply click and hold and drag right or left to scale in or scale out. Now if we scale out, you can see that we are revealing the black parts around the clip now. So if we did have a clip below it, then we would see the clip now on the outside layer. This can be a cool way of creating some intermediate effects inside Premiere Pro. Let's set that back to 100%. And instead of clicking and dragging, you can also type in the number that you want. So that's at 110, which means if we position the clip, we have a little bit more to play with before the black is revealed. Let's reset this. So if you didn't like, let's say, this grass area, then what we can do is you'd scale in about half of it. So because we went to about half, we can move the whole thing right by about half, which should bring us to about here. So let's bring the position to the right, and let's go back on the left side there just until the black isn't shown. And it's not enough, so we want to go to about here, let's say, if we were wanting to crop this off. So let's zoom in just a little more and bring it more to the right, and that's close enough. So if we wanted to lower this now, we can also do the exact same by clicking and holding on the horizontal and going down until just the black part isn't shown. So now when we play this clip, it'll be cropped in a little bit. Now keep in mind, this is a 1080p sequence, which is 1920 by 1080, that's full HD. This clip is full HD, so when you scale in, you will lose a little bit of resolution. So on an HD timeline, working with HD clips, I would never go more than maybe 115 or 120%. Okay, so let's reset both of those. The next thing we have is the rotation. This is pretty straightforward. It's 0 to 360. You can spin it all the way up to 360, and then it starts becoming one full rotation plus 24 degrees. Two full rotations plus 204. Let's reset that. Let's say you shot your footage slightly off balance, then you can adjust it by working like that and then scaling in a little bit to make up for it. I rarely work with the anchor point, so I would leave that as is. And the anti-flicker is okay if you're trying to remove some flicker in your footage. However, there are far better plugins out there, so if you do need to remove some flicker, I would suggest spending, between $50 and a couple $100 and getting an actual plugin that is meant to do so. It performs much better.